Welcome to Royal Legacy, where we will explore the rich athletic history and deep family connections of BYU sports. Join us as we honor the past, celebrate the present, and look forward to the future of the BYU Cougars. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Lauren McClain, and welcome to Royal Legacy, where we dive deep into the family connections of BYU sports. Joining me today are two brothers on the BYU men's tennis team, Redd and Hardy Owen. Redd will be a senior and Hardy a sophomore, both former five-star recruits out of Sandy, Utah. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
This is going to be really fun. Tennis season is basically here. How does it feel to get back into the rhythm of tennis in college?
Good. I mean, I'm an old head now, so it's kind of like Groundhog Day, but honestly, it kind of feels like I'm starting all over again every year. So it's been a super fun summer. It's really great. We always move back home for the summer, and so then our dad coaches us all summer, and this is the first summer where Hardy has been able to come travel with me and play tournaments together. So it's kind of a flashback to our past where we hit the road together with our dad, who is also our coach, when we're at home. So it's great.
Dang, that's pretty cool. Yeah, because I was going to ask you, Hardy, what does the summer look like? Do you get much of a break from tennis?
Yeah, I mean, so we get right off the bat, Redd and I entered a tournament. So you would think I'd want a break, but I feel like Redd and I, we've loved tennis so much since we were young. We just love to compete, and so we got to go around competing right off the bat, and I don't know, we just love to go play those tournaments, and so it's been fun. Redd and I have been traveling, like this last month, we were gone pretty much every single week, so it's pretty fun. But we're excited to go back this fall, and we're feeling ready. So
you go all around the country to different tournaments?
Yep.
Are you guys playing doubles together, or singles?
I asked him a couple times, and 2 times I got shot down. So
yeah,
your dad, or you asked Hardy?
This guy.
I was playing like singles tournaments. I had to get my singles game ready, but I do love to play with Redd. We got to play one time last year. So
yeah, we played right after we got home from this mission. It's super fun.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you about that because I saw that there in on your bios it said played one match, with your brother.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, the decision's above our pay grade, and we actually weren't supposed to play that match together, but we ended up having to move some things around last minute. We were over in Pennsylvania playing against Lehigh, and our coach just came up to us as we were warming up and said, "You two are playing doubles together. Lace them up." And so we went and we played. We weren't able to finish the match because it got clinched before then, but it was super fun.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, what was that like?
Our parents were actually there, but
no way!
Yeah, they were able to watch it, and I don't know. Redd and we've grown up playing like doubles pickleball. We've always competed together, so there's definitely like chemistry when we're playing, but there's definitely sometimes some beef when we're playing for sure. But no problem. For sure. we know what makes each other mad, so I don't know.
It's
we try to, when we're competing, know each other's personalities. So yeah.
I mean, do you bug each other on purpose while you're competing with each other?
On purpose, on accident.
Just all over.
It always works, but
brothers.
Especially now that we're returned missionaries, it's so much better, and it's because you've just been living with companions that you didn't choose, which is kind of like a simulated sibling relationship, and you cannot kill each other out there, and so we're much more patient now. We're much more understanding, and so it's great.
And something that it's even a bigger problem for me that having a laugh attack. Redd's, no matter how mad I am, he can always make me have a laugh attack. So I'm more worried about not being able to focus if I start laughing too hard. But
we've always one of our family philosophies is that laughter is kind of the canary in the coal mine, and so if you can chuckle, usually you can find your way out of any sort of beef. And so we've always got little techniques for no matter how high the tension is to produce a chuckle out of each other.
Well, what are some of the things that you say to him that can make him laugh during an intense tennis match? Because I'm assuming you're both really competitive, so that can be hard when you're in the heat of the moment.
It can be different voices we do. Honestly, when you live together for so long, your brain just kind of gets destroyed with humor. And so honestly, the other day, family prayer, all that it takes is one little breath in. And then this guy loses it. And so I have that great power, and I know that I'll probably have to be held accountable for those things maybe at the judgment bar, but sometimes I'll do a little exaggerated inhale, and then this guy's gone.
Listen, I think God has a sense of humor. I think he's laughing. All right, Redd, you mentioned when you first got to BYU how much academics meant to you as well as tennis. You said, I'm of the mindset that as I excel academically, it will only help me on the court because I'm not particularly blessed with all the physical gifts that bigger guys may have. I like my mind, or I feel like my mind is one of my greatest tools on the tennis court. I view pursuing the growth and life of the mind as working on my tennis game as well. Now going into your senior season, do you still agree with your younger self? Because this was a quote from you when you were barely first coming into BYU.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that mindset?
I think that I've learned that my mind is both my greatest strength and my greatest weakness. I think that I'm very prone to overthinking. And so that can really get in the way, and my coach can, attest to that. But then at the same time, I think that when I see things properly and see tennis in its proper perspective after, thinking about it, praying about it, inviting, I would argue now that I'd say like the spiritual life is more important for me, and that the mental, the intellectual life, my mind can often be an obstacle to that. And so as long as I'm, inviting the Spirit to guide my thoughts, then it can be my greatest blessing. But left to my own thoughts, it can often be a train wreck. So
yeah, I completely agree with that. And you mentioned in there as well that you felt like you were undersized. Have you grown since you first got here? Because I'm like, you're not like a small guy.
I know I've bulked up. I'm weighing in a little 170.
We just have our team is so tall.
Yeah, our team, especially my freshman year, a lot of big guys, huge serves. They hit the ball really hard, and I've always been different in that way. I make a lot of balls. I try to play a little more with feel and precision. So, yeah, especially up here at altitude. So the ball moves way quicker up here, and in college tennis, guys just hit the ball so much harder than they even did when we were in the juniors. So, yeah, it's definitely an adjustment.
And I'm going to ask you guys about that a little later. Hardy, you're going to be a sophomore this fall, but how would you sum up how your freshman year was at BYU?
Yeah, it was. I love the freshman year. It was an amazing experience for me. It was coming off from my mission. I was a little nervous. Didn't know if I was going to be able to get that level back from before my mission, but I'm definitely able to see that, gaining those experiences, it was definitely really good for me. There's definitely some hard times. I feel like at the start, maybe I put a little pressure on myself for having expectations, but I started to enjoy the process more and just kind of focus on things like loving tennis and not caring about the result more, but really going out and enjoying hitting the ball again, being on the team with Redd, loving my teammates, and just focusing on the little things because it goes by so fast. And so I think just that really helped me for my freshman year. But our coach, he did an amazing job. We were able to travel to so many cool places. We got to go to Japan. There's so many fun experiences that I'll have with me forever. So I definitely loved it, and I'm excited to get ready for the sophomore year. So
did you guys compete while you were in Japan?
Yeah,
was that a tournament?
We did.
Yeah, so we got to compete against 2 different universities out there. And yeah, it was first day we got there, it was 120 degrees. So we were off some super long flight, but it was so fun.
Yeah, I don't know how we fought a war there. But yeah, it was primarily a tourist vacation, but we also, we're a college team, so we played 2 matches there.
That's really cool. Redd, what's it like watching your younger brother kind of follow in your footsteps? Because you guys grew up Ute fans. Your dad played at the University of Utah. You choose to come to BYU. And then your little brothers, 2 of them, are now following in your footsteps. What's it been like to watch Hardy follow in your footsteps?
Well, so when I was on my mission, I was in West Africa, and, I was learning to be content with little. And one of the main ways that I was learning to be content with little, have low expectations for things, was Hardy wasn't planning on coming to BYU. I thought he was going to go to University of Utah. It's kind of our family has always been huge fans at the University of Utah. We've had season tickets, as my dad's family has, for a long time. And my parents, were saying, yeah, we're kind of leaning in this direction. And that's what Hardy was saying to me. And that was my perception of what was going on. And then, this one P day, all of a sudden I wake up and I get this text from Hardy on Messenger, and he's decked out in BYU gear, and he texts me that he just committed to BYU. And I felt like Joseph Smith after the first vision. I was rejoicing. I went and that day I announced the good news of the gospel to the people of Benin and told them that my kid brother just agreed to play tennis at BYU with me, and I could have died and gone to heaven in that moment. And so it's important for me to remember that, because you can kind of get lost once again in your own things and, the stresses of being a college athlete and a student athlete and, worrying about how things are going for you. And it's really important, and it's been very helpful for me to take a step back and realize that when I was in Benin, I would have given my left leg to be playing with my kid brother. And so he's here with me now, and it's such a joy. And going back to what he was talking about his freshman year, it's just amazing to see where his level's at. We had this tournament in Boise a few weeks ago, and he was back better than even before, and I think the most important thing was I could tell that he was enjoying it again. And so it's, it brings me so much happiness. I think there's a scripture in the Book of Mormon that talks about, it's you're very happy when you succeed, but there's a level of joy that you can feel when someone you love and care about, like your brother, is doing well and is happy. And so that's what I care about most of all. It's been great to experience that.
Hardy, now I have to hear your story.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were pretty sold on the University of Utah. What changed?
Yeah, I was like, there's no doubt in my mind I was going there to the University of Utah, and I had been thinking about it that my senior year, and I was super excited to go, and I actually went on the visit there, and I actually loved it, and it was a great time. Like we mentioned earlier, my dad went there. We were huge Utah fans. We ended up going to all the tennis matches at the Utah, and I was like, imagine myself playing there, and I went on the visit, and right before I committed, I just kind of had the thought of me playing with Redd. And Redd's always been a great older brother to me and an example. And I just thought of both of us playing at the same college. And I imagined us on the courts playing next to each other. And that was just always been a dream of ours since we were competing in the backyard since we were young. So, yeah, I ended up switching my mind at the last second. I hadn't even filled out applications or anything. And I walked out of there and I told my parents, I said, I think I need to go to BYU. And they were shocked. And, my mom's she felt the same way. And so we went there, went to the coach a few days later, told him I was going to BYU, and then I sent Redd that picture. But it's always been it was a cool experience. It was a complete 180, but it's definitely the right thing that I felt to do, and I never regret it. I loved my freshman year, and so it's been amazing.
Redd, let's hear your story, because you're kind of the trailblazer with coming to BYU. I'm assuming your dad probably wanted you to go to the University of Utah. Maybe he didn't care. I don't know. But what made you choose BYU?
Well, my name is Redd, too. So and I was actually always known in elementary school for just being a rabid University of Utah fan. I've always loved sports, and I'd go all in everything I do. And so, yeah, my mind was I was either going to go to Utah or a different school, and I never thought I was going to come to BYU. But as the recruiting process started, I, was prayerful about it, and, the coach at that time did a wonderful job of recruiting me, and I was going on different visits and evaluating different options. And when I came on my visit here was kind of what tilted the scales. The players that were in charge of kind of chaperoning me for the weekend, I really respected them, not just as players, but they were really good people. They treated me exceptionally well, and they were great role models. And I just remember thinking, I want to be like this guy. His name's David Ball, so if he's ever listening, shout out to him, because he was a very impressive person. And I just remember thinking, this is the sort of environment I want to be in, especially after my mission. I want to be that sort of person who, is good to people. That's the most important thing. I think that BYU at its best, is good, and that's what's been my experience here. And I told my dad after I came, we came to a dual match here. It was actually against the University of Utah, and the atmosphere was just electric, and it was just such a cool atmosphere. And I just told him, I was like, Dad, I think I want to come here. And he was like, yeah, I don't blame you at all. And he was super supportive. My grandparents, who are just diehard University of Utah fans, it's been amazing. They come to every single match here. And I've seen my grandpa in a BYU hat now, and never thought I'd see that. And so, it's just been amazing to have the support of, my family and to be a part of the BYU family.
Mm. All right. So you said, Hardy, that your parents were shocked when you told them you were going to BYU. What was your dad's reaction when he found out that not only one, but two of his sons were going to be BYU Cougars?
I think I saw part of him die, definitely, when I told him that at the start. Yeah, I feel but then he was happy for me because he knew I was going to be playing with Redd. But I mean, he loves the University of Utah, but I think he was just overall happy after that. But it definitely took him a second after I told him. He's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure. I know this is the right thing." But yeah, I don't know.
Part of him died.
Part of him definitely died. I definitely saw his soul leave his body on the couch when I told him. But I think he's accepted it now.
Yeah, he's just such a good dad.
He's amazing.
He's been 100% supportive, encouraging of us. He just loves us. He loves us more than Utah or anything like that. And so he just wanted us to be happy, and he's just our number one fan. So
All right, you guys got to be honest. Do you catch yourselves rooting for the Utes sometimes? Obviously not in tennis, right? But
Yeah.
do you still have it in you a little bit?
At first, it was tough. I remember right after I committed, I was like, man, it's tough. But ever since I've been here, full conversion, fully consecrated to BYU. I want, it's almost more painful now. Rooting, I want BYU so badly now, but it's great because I probably didn't have love and charity for BYU before, but now that having been a University of Utah fan, I don't feel like the animosity towards them at all. But I still am just a diehard Coug through and through now. So
yeah,
same with you.
Same with me. Yeah, I knew if I wanted to go here, I would go 100% in. And how can you not when you go to those football games?
That's
I mean,
true.
The energy, the fans, everyone brings, they support everyone so much, and it's just something I love. So yeah, you got to go all in. And I just love BYU.
It almost makes it more fun too, since a big chunk of your family are still big Ute fans. It's got to be fun for banter,
sure,
right?
For sure.
Sunday dinners. Redd, what influence would you say your dad had on all you boys growing up when it comes to your love of tennis?
My dad, I can't say enough about how good my dad was as a tennis parent and as a coach. He instilled a love in the game of the game for us, where he never forced us to get out. It started for us when we were young. My dad was a young associate at a law firm, and my mom saw that he's probably stressed and getting out of shape too, and she thought it would be a good idea to sign him up for some men's open tournaments, adult tournaments that you play in Utah against other current or former college players. And he would play, and we were really young, and we would go watch our dad play, and we were just mesmerized. And after the match, we'd come and we'd run onto the court, and we'd just beg our dad to let us borrow some of his rackets and for him to hit with us. And that led to us getting rackets. We go practice in our backyard all the time. And my dad, he never forced us to go play. He never got angry at us. I don't think my dad had ever gotten angry at me for losing a match or playing poorly. He made it really fun, and he genuinely loves the game, and he genuinely loves us, and he's never let expectations of us ever interfere with his encouragement of us. And he's an amazing coach, and he's just a good person that I trust, and he's just so selfless. And yeah, he makes tennis really fun. When we go on these tournaments, he could just talk to us about tennis and different things in our tennis for hours, and he's just relentlessly positive. And I've never seen that. I've never seen that. Sometimes tennis parents get to have a bad rap for being really intense, because it is a very intense sport. And when I'm watching Hardy, I'm just on the edge of my seat, feel like I'm going to pull my hair. I'm so tight and nervous because it's just one person.
Yeah.
And yet my dad, he was always famous for at these super intense tournaments, he'd just be sitting there on his laptop. He's an attorney, and so he'd be working remotely. He'd be doing his laptop thing, and we'd play a really good point. He'd just go like this. And if we were there just losing our mind or playing total cheeks, he would just look up, look like that. Never angry. I don't know how he does it. He would hardly move the entire match. He would internalize it, though. He almost had a heart attack at one of my matches. But yeah, he's just, I can't say enough good things about my dad, and also my mom she was the one that actually started it all. So. Well,
I was going to ask, Hardy, how does your mom fit into all this? Because there's your dad, and then does your younger brother play tennis as well?
Yeah,
your youngest brother. So yeah. All four boys play. How does your mom fit into that household of boys? Yeah,
I mean, she's the most amazing mom ever, and she's always supported us so much, and she's really the backbone behind why we play tennis. She always made it so fun for us. It never felt like a chore or anything, and she was always fully invested. She just wanted us to do our best, and our mom is huge on exposure therapy, so she would even come to our tennis matches since we were young, or tennis practices, and before we were going to serve, she'd honk the car so that we could deal with outside noise. And she just always made it so fun. She took us from different clubs. She would put on events where just making tennis just so fun for us from everything. We'd travel around the States just driving as a family. And so it always just felt like the most incredible experience. And she's really the most selfless person. She didn't care about that much of herself, but she just wanted to make us happy, and we just love doing it, and that's why she wanted to go all in on it. So that was always.
She's the best.
I'm sorry, I'm just
ever.
picturing her honk while you're playing. That's brilliant.
Oh yeah, talks to us while we play.
Yeah, while we're playing these huge matches with hundreds of people watching, it never felt that bad because we'd have our mom intentionally honking the horn, and I remember Redd, he would be like,
I'd be
stop.
crashing out at it. But
now
no,
he's I don't know, from that you can see how mentally tough Redd is, because nothing really affects him, because I don't know, sometimes if we were nervous to play players, she was always like, yeah, you could go lose and everything.
Right.
But she made it feel not that important, but it was just always good.
Yeah, she made things so fun. I
Yeah.
mean, my dad made things fun. He was really good because he wouldn't put pressure on us. But my dad will attest to this too. My mom is really the fun maker. She would just start all these different super leagues with tennis. She'd do all these different games and events. She just almost it felt like, from our perspective, she was reorganizing the Utah tennis community to make it fun for us and everyone else involved. And she's just an amazing, amazing woman. She makes our life fun and joyful, intense. She is a 100% boy mom through and through.
Yeah, we'd be at some huge national tournament or something, and my mom would be taking us to a water park, which
Yeah.
is in between matches, which is you should probably rest, but
Right,
we'd always had fun at those. So.
Yeah, the other parents are having their kids on IVs. They're doing 4 mile wind sprints, and we're over at Cowabunga Bay in Detroit. This is awesome.
Gosh, that's how it should be, in my opinion, because you mentioned you started when you're 6 years old playing.
Yeah,
you don't have a little fun in there, right?
No, for sure, yeah.
That's going to be a crazy life. Well, speaking of gaining mental toughness, like your mom helped you to do, you both also served missions for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Hardy, do either of you find it tough to regain your rhythm in tennis and in life when you have to, because you're kind of the fresh one off. You've been home about a year, right?
Yeah.
Was it hard to regain your rhythm for tennis when you got home?
Yeah, at the start, tennis is it's huge timing. So when you're not playing a lot, you could definitely feel like you lose timing. But I actually had the chance to play a little bit on my mission. I had an amazing mission president who, in the countries I was serving in, I was in Croatia, Slovenia, Serbia, and Bosnia. Those people love tennis, and so my mission president told me, he's like, you got to use this talent to help you and to help these people because they love it. And so I actually got to play a little bit. So it didn't feel too crazy coming back. And it was more what I noticed is more mental and being connected spiritually that helped me the most, because tennis is a huge mental game. And so I feel like the rhythm started coming back and just remembering things. I think it's the same thing in Book of Mormon always says remember. And so things just kind of started to just come to my mind and remember. And so I do feel like I've been playing a lot better than even before, which is a huge blessing. And I love serving my mission. I think that helped me so much that, I can't even describe how much it did. So,
Redd, how do you feel like serving a mission prepared you for your experience as a college tennis player?
Yeah, I think I talked to my coach about this a couple months ago, because it's easy for me to forget, and this is not something that I do well all the time or even do well most of the time. And so I think what the mission did for me is it helped me let go of tennis. When you are really good at something growing up, or when something's really important to you, it's very easy to make that thing God. It can take the place of God in your life, and you can start to evaluate your life and how well you're doing in life and your own identity based on tennis rather than based on your identity as a child of God. And I think what my mission did was, first of all, it humbled me. I saw how a lot of people live, and it was, very, very sobering to see that. And yet I also saw how meaning could come, and joy could come without all of those different things that I had. Without tennis, without even your family next to you, without material prosperity, these people were an amazingly joyful and, funny people. And so I think that, something I always try to remember, like Hardy mentioned, is that tennis isn't the most important thing. And I think I play my best tennis when I realize that tennis isn't the most important thing. And making the spiritual the priority, it puts tennis into perspective. You're able to play also with the strength of the spirit, and you're able to have, you're able to be more gracious in defeat and more humble in success. And like I said before, I fail at that all the time. It feels like this senior year coming in, it's almost like, man, I can't believe it's taken me 3 years to learn these things that I actually felt like I already knew. But that's what repentance is. And so I think that my mission was the most important thing I ever did. I would do it again any day of the week. It was the most meaningful, difficult, challenging, but ultimately important and joyful thing I've ever done, and I'll never regret it. I'll never regret giving up tennis for that time, and when the time comes to give it up in a new way, my mission has prepared me for that.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with BYU tennis brothers Redd and Hardy Owen. This is Royal Legacy. The Big 12 is packed with drama, heart, and unforgettable moments. And Big Stories is where it all comes to life. Host Cleon Wall scours the conference to uncover powerful tales of courage and resilience, while podcasters from all 16 schools break down the biggest plays and hottest storylines. Listen to Big Stories wherever you get your podcasts.
And now back to Royal Legacy and your host, Lauren McClain.
Welcome back to Royal Legacy. I'm Lauren McClain. I'm here with Redd and Hardy Owen, brothers from the BYU tennis team. Hardy, since you're all tennis players, what's it like when you're all competing against each other? Is it friendly or is it fiery or is it...
That's a great question.
What are we looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing that since I can even remember, but I think I've even played Redd in matches here at BYU when we're competing even for a really important maybe position or something, and there's honestly no difference between that than playing ping pong in our basement on a Sunday night, which was
the other day.
Yeah, just the other day. So it's we always want to win. We always are super competitive, and it definitely gets heated sometimes. And we played pickleball, basketball, I don't know, a bunch of different sports. And I don't know, we just love to compete, Redd and I do. So it's been so fun since we were young doing that.
Have you guys ever gotten in a real fight where you're chucking rackets and
I think
super mad?
I mean, I get way more mad than Hardy does. And right before my mission, we played at the park, and I may have had my missionary badge. I hope I didn't have my missionary badge. But I think it was at the end of the home MTC we played. And Hardy beat me, and I just hucked my racket over the fence, and I was just saying all sorts of nonsense, and I was like, okay, time for me to be a missionary,
Yeah.
And so
I remember one time I hadn't beaten Redd until I was 16 years old maybe, and I think I was up about to beat him, and he pulled the I have to go right now.
Oh, come on, that's not true. He's not going to talk about what happened in ping pong the other day.
No, this is 100% true. And we were there, and we ended up getting I remember it got pretty heated, but I needed that one.
Oh, you're I gotta go. Sorry.
I have to go right now.
I dispute that,
Hardy's
but
about to win.
It's true. Yeah.
No, but it's been good for us because, if you can compete without anger, I think that's the true sign of a disciple of Jesus Christ. And sometimes we're able to do that, and those are at our best where we're out there and we're practicing, we're trying our best. We obviously want to win, but we're helping each other. We're competing with charity rather than with pride. And so I think growing up with brothers, very competitive household, very athletic, at least these guys are, it was a really good learning experience because it's going to be that way, out in the real world. And so it's good to practice at home where you're more comfortable with people and you can be forgiven for, doing all of the shenanigans that I know that I've done, and so I think it was really good practice for us.
And I remember when I came back from my mission, it was hard for me to learn how to compete again. Just there's so many emotions when you're playing, and Redd and I we kind of had to talk, be we're really our two best practice partners, and we have to be on the same page because if we're not, then we're both just holding each other back. And I think it's just really good to maximize our potential and realize that when we're playing, we just have to get along, and it is just a game. So just have fun with it instead of taking it so personally if one person's winning or losing.
Yeah.
Right, and try to help the other person. I think that's the biggest thing is we, and I think we've done a great job of this lately, is we, I come into practice and I obviously have the things that I'm working on, but I have to go out of my way to, really try and be in a good space spiritually, mentally, so that I genuinely want the best for Hardy, so that I want him to have a really good practice as well. It's not just about me. It's not just about me beating him. It's maybe he'll beat me today, maybe I'll beat him today, but let's both try to get better. And when that happens, then you can play freely, and then it's fun. Then it's actually a game. You can just play. Mm-hmm. But when it's just about competition, it's actually not as fun. When it's just about winning, And so I think we've grown a lot in that over time where at least I think we both genuinely want the other person to succeed. And if we play each other for a lineup spot or play each other in a tournament, I think we're at a spot where, if Hardy beats me, he's the better player that day, and awesome. It's if I could, when I was on my mission, I watched Hardy have a super big win at this tournament while I was really sick. And that was more enjoyable and more happy for me than any tournament I've ever won. And so I have to remember that, that get outside myself, and it's my brother. If he wins, like I win. That's amazing. So
that's really interesting to think about, that I feel like when you're first coming into college and you're like, I get to play with my brother, but tennis is one of those sports. It's not like you're playing different positions. Mm-hmm. You're fighting for the same spot, right? Yeah. So that has to be an interesting dynamic. Mm-hmm. So Hardy, do you guys ever give each other advice, kind of more than obviously you would the other players on the team? Like after you guys maybe compete for a spot in practice or whatever, do you guys chat after and be like, you should do this, this, and this? How does that work?
Yeah, I feel like definitely, like Redd says, we've done that a lot more as of recent. I think Redd's, in my life, has been one of my best coaches. Because he understands me and he knows what I need. And he's always helped me with that. And I feel like sometimes I've given him some decent advice, I don't know, for helping him. But it's good when we both want each other to succeed. And that's just been, you can feel that Redd really wants me to succeed and I really want him to win. And so, yeah, after matches, I've watched so many matches of Redd. When he's watching, I want him to win so bad. And I think I know the little things that can help him. So it's fun being on the same team, really.
Let's get into a few things outside of tennis. Redd, you speak French. You like to read poetry and write. These are all from your bio, by the way. Hopefully it's still accurate. And those are some unique hobbies. What got you into poetry and writing?
I'm actually not a big poetry guy. I
that was false.
Should probably dabble more, but I love to read. I'm a total nerd. I love to read. I love to write. I've always kind of been just like a nerd jock combo, and so yeah, I love to read. I love to write. I like going on walks. Spending time in quiet, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of an interesting dynamic too in college where both tennis and academics require so much, mental exertion, so much physical effort, so much of my time that it's interesting. I'm kind of coming to a point now where it's almost like I feel like I have to choose one or the other. It's a really hard choice because I love both of them so much. And so grateful my family's so supportive, and the people around me that I love most, they're just amazing cheerleaders and supporters. And, it's really special. My girlfriend above all, she's loves my tennis so much, and she also believes in me so much off the court that it's super helpful because I feel like I can focus on tennis and I can go all in on that, and I can go all in on academics too, and we'll see what Heavenly Father wants for me. But yeah, it's really fun to have both of those interests and passions.
Your girlfriend gives you the freedom to choose
to
be who you want to be. Yep. That's important. Hardy, you were a top 25 pro pickleball player in 2021. How did you fit pickleball in while pursuing tennis? Like I know they're semi-similar, but how did that happen?
Yes, so we got into pickleball when we were super young, and I just started I was traveling a lot for tennis tournaments, especially because it was my senior year. And after I had committed, I had a little more freedom, so I decided to do a few pro pickleball tournaments because we'd done it since we were young, and it was super fun. We got to play on ESPN, got to go travel. Actually, me and Caden Hassler, who's on the BYU tennis team, we got to play we played the Junior National Championships in Las Vegas, and we ended up winning it all, which was so fun playing with him because we played in tennis and we played in pickleball. So pickleball is just it's super fun for me, to play, and it helps me learn how to play when you're nervous because pickleball is huge now, and so when you're playing those, there's huge crowds, and it's just fun to play under that pressure, and I don't know, I think it's such a fun sport.
Is it hard, though, to go back? Because the forms are different, obviously, from pickleball to tennis. When you're playing one a lot, is it kind of hard to go back to the other?
Yeah, I think I play tennis so much that it doesn't affect me as much. But if I definitely only play one for a while, it can definitely mess with me a little bit. There's some times when I'm playing a tennis match where I'm hitting some shot that's no one's ever seen before because of some weird pickleball shot. And it's everyone's what is this guy doing? And it's but I think overall it helps me a lot, and both pickleball and tennis both translate. So, yeah, it's fun, just switching between both.
I feel like we need to let everyone know how incredible both of you are at tennis. You both were 5-star recruits, multi-year state champions, the number one recruits out of the state of Utah and beyond. That's kind of insane. Redd, how would you describe the difference in competition and difficulty level going from tournaments you played in pre-college to now?
Well, it's kind of difficult sometimes to evaluate because we had that buffer zone with the mission and when you're outside of competition for so long, outside of the rhythm and timing of tennis, it feels way harder too because you haven't been playing. Unlike these other guys are just coming straight out of high school, straight out of junior tennis. They get right into it. But I definitely feel like the level in college it's a significant step up. The pace of the ball is high. The consistency is there. You have so many good players, not just from America that play, but the majority of the players we play are the best players from around the world. I think this year at the U.S. Open, there were, I don't know the exact number, but it was a lot of, a huge chunk of the, main draw players are former college players now. And so college is increasingly a sort of almost like farming system for pro tennis. And so it's a great privilege to compete against such a high level. It really does feel like you're playing the best of the best, not just in college, but in the world.
Wow. So you're going into your sophomore year, Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your biggest goals heading into the second year of college tennis?
That's a great question. I think freshman year I was so focused on like these goals, like All-American and certain things like that. And I think it's important to not put a limit on yourself. And the things that help me the most is not focus necessarily on like a number or something like that, but just focus on getting better because the results will take care of itself. And so I think this year I'm really just going to try to enjoy hitting every shot, getting better every day, doing the little things I can, because I think it's easy to put a super high expectation on yourself, and that's when I don't play as well. So what helps me is just focus on everything that I can do each day, like enjoy hitting the ball, maybe making these small adjustments, being more prepared than I was the day before, and I think those are my biggest goals for this next year. And I think the sky's the limit for Redd and me, and I think we can do. Yeah, we're going to go after it for sure.
I think the tennis team needs to hire your mom just to do a few honks during practice.
Yeah.
I think the level would just...
She'll be the team momager.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So what about for you, Redd? You're going to be a senior. Yeah. So this is it for you when it comes to college tennis. What are some of your biggest goals headed into the season?
Yeah, I think the same as Hardy. I think I came in with more, outcome-specific goals that were about me. And I think that going into my senior year, I want to learn from my teammates every day so I can improve. I want to help my teammates every day, and I want to have a joyful time. I want to, enjoy playing tennis. I want to help my teammates enjoy practice because I think that having fun and playing well are very closely related, and they almost cause each other. I had one of my bishops call me the other day, and he said that he just reminded me that if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And I think I have, I tend sometimes to lose sight of that as we get kind of into the rat race of college tennis and different things. And so I really want to make it a joyful experience for, my teammates, and I want to give it everything I have, obviously. And I think above all, I want to, make the spirit a bigger part of practice every day and make sure I'm always seeing things clearly because, I can very easily get into that pride cycle sort of thing where, you do well and then you get prideful and then you fall. And so I want to make sure I'm staying humble, hungry, and, being charitable, looking outward, remembering that it's not just about me.
Do either of you have the goal to play professionally one day?
Yeah, I think we both love to.
Yeah,
I think, next summer I'll give it a go, play as many tournaments as I can, see what happens. I just took the LSAT at this last pro tournament of the summer that we were just barely playing in, and so I'll be applying for law school this fall, but then, I'll also try my luck next year. It's a little more immediate for me, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think we've played so much tennis, and why would we not try to do the best we can in it? So I think it's definitely the best to just go for it.
Yeah.
My last question for you guys is, and we'll start with Hardy. What's one lesson you've learned through tennis that you'll carry with you the rest of your life?
That's a great question. I think for me, tennis, there's been so many setbacks. There's been times where I've been injured where I didn't think I was going to come back, or just like hard things. And I think learning to be in the moment, because it's not always going to be fun when you're maybe running sprints or when you're going out and it's like maybe 100 degrees by yourself to hit serves, but to really just like embrace everything, like embrace the chaos is what Redd always says. And I think just learning how to be in the moment and enjoy, because our whole life is just built up with these little moments, and really enjoying every step of the way, not getting too focused on things that you can't control. And so I think I've definitely learned that, and to work hard even when no one is watching, has been one thing that I think I learned from my dad and from Redd as well. And so doing those little things, because they add up, it's just little things. So,
what about for you, Redd?
Yeah, I like that. Embrace the chaos. There's that verse in the Doctrine and Covenants that talks about he who receiveth all things with thankfulness, everything will be added unto him. Yeah, and I just think that, almost what I've learned with tennis is that when you make anything other than God, like the number one thing in your life, you're often on a pathway that is going to be miserable at some point or another. You're almost going to be chasing a horizon that's eternally receding from you. And so I think of that passage from the Savior in the Sermon on the Mount, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And those things that are added unto you often are, they aren't necessarily what you want, And so I think that, like what Hardy was talking about, it's really easy to hold on really tight to what you want to happen. And I think that, the players that actually do the best are the ones that play the freest, and they almost play with this sort of courage that they almost don't care as much, right? They're willing to lose, they're willing to fail, and I think that that's something I'll carry on to all of things for the rest of my life. Is having courage is more important than just about anything. C.S. Lewis said that courage is the form of every virtue at its testing point, and I think the test of courage is when you are willing to let go of things. You're willing to let go of results. You're willing to let go of something that you want to happen or don't want to happen. You just say, bring it on, let it go, and that's almost a very joyful and it's a very adventurous way to go about your life, is to be courageous.
I'm here with Redd and Hardy Owen, brothers from the BYU men's tennis team. You guys are incredible. I'm so excited to see how you do this season. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks again to BYU tennis players and brothers, Redd and Hardy Owen, for coming on the show with me. Christy Solomon helped produce this episode with senior producer Terry South. You can join the Royal Legacy wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYURadio.org. Royal Legacy is a production of BYU Broadcasting.